our communities are in a state of fear and confusion. And I know that we're not in the best of terms emotionally or physically, but we're here to show up, to denounce, and to call out the racism that this administration contains. We're here to call out Trump and to tell him that whatever he does, we may not have control over, but we have control over how we respond. We have control over how we inform our communities. And we have control over protecting our own, protecting our families, because families belong together. We're here to tell Trump we're not scared of him. We're not scared of him, and we never have been.
Yeah!
We never have been because we have each other, because we know that we're on the right side of history. We understand that everything that is happening right now, we have fought for so many years, and this is not new to us. Our communities have lived in fear for many, many years, and we're still out here giving our face. We're still coming out to support each other. We're here for those folks who may be too afraid to come out. So I'm calling on all you U.S. citizens, use your privilege. Use your privilege right now.
Yeah!
This is the moment to use your privilege. Always stand up for those who may be undocumented, for those who have DACA, for those who didn't qualify for DACA, for the 11 million in this country. Use your privilege. This is the time to rise up. I am Melody Klingenfuss. I have DACA since 2015. I am undocumented and unafraid. I know that I represent only a small percentage of folks who qualify for DACA, and right now we're fighting for a permanent solution. So this is just another step. This is just another call for 2020. Elections are coming up 2020, and we need our community to show up to vote. That is how we're going to show this administration what we're made of. By voting in 2020. Who's with me?
Woo!
Who's with me? So I want to pass it on now to Maru, who will translate in Spanish, and then we'll get started with our program.
Buenos días, ¿cómo están? Yeah. Buenos días, estamos aquí para decir que no nos van a espantar, ¿verdad? Y que cualquier acción que vaya a ir en contra de nuestra comunidad inmigrante, siempre vamos a estar al frente, ¿verdad? Mi nombre es Maru Galván y soy indocumentada y estoy aquí para salir y dar la cara a la gente y a las familias indocumentadas. Quiero decir que no va a volver a espantarnos y que no va a volver a ganar con esta campaña de odio hacia nuestra comunidad inmigrante. Ya sabemos que es su táctica porque se acaba de reelegir para la presidencia, pero esta vez no lo vamos a dejar ganar, ¿verdad? Todos los que pueden votar ahora saben cuál es su táctica y saben sus manejos y saben que solamente están trabajando por su propio bien. Así que esperemos que no se dejen engañar otra vez y nosotros vamos a estar en la calle para decirles que no se dejen engañar una vez más y que no lo vamos a dejar volver a reelegirse, porque nuestras familias merecen estar unidas, no más separación de familias. ¿Quién está conmigo?
Yo! Woo!
Muchas gracias a todos ustedes que están aquí con nosotros y también a los representantes.
I'm going to welcome our first speakers for this morning, Rabbi Neil Cummins Daniels and Rabbi Ari Cohen.
Good morning. My people were refugees too, and we still are. And we know what it is to feel the heart of the refugee. We are told 36 times in our text. No other thing in the Torah is repeated that many times. 36 times not to oppress the stranger, because it's that important. And we have a very skewed idea of what a stranger is. Stephen Miller is a moral and ethical stranger to me.
Yeah!
Senator Mitchell is a moral and ethical stranger to me. President Trump is a moral and ethical stranger to all of us. We don't understand who these people are. They are not acting with any kind of humanity. You don't do this to people who are acting as citizens. They are not acting as citizens. The people who are undocumented are more citizens than they are. They deserve to be here more than they do. Yes. So, Senator Mitchell, Stephen Miller, President Trump, we have a cold concrete floor waiting for you with an aluminum blanket in a cage. Because we are told in our tradition that there is one rule for those who are citizens, one rule for those who are not citizens. It's the same rule. It's supposed to be the same. So you get to sleep the same way you make these children sleep, the same way you make their parents sleep. We're going to take away your children from you so that you begin to feel what these people are feeling. There's one rule, one moral standard for everyone, and we will not stand for anything else.
Yeah.
Good morning. First, I want to thank everybody for coming. At times of great tragedy and great evil, there is a way to pick up the sparks of holiness, and that's by gathering together to struggle for justice. So I want to thank you all and name the fact that here there are people who are picking up those sparks of holiness and justice. I want to tell you a little story. It's a story lots of us know. There's a man by the name of Abraham. Yeah, that Abraham. And God told him to become an immigrant, to become a migrant, to go, to leave his homeland, to take his family and start on a trek to someplace that he didn't know. That trek ended up many years later when his grandchildren fled drought and famine and ended up in Egypt. The Pharaoh decided that this was a threat, that these migrant families who are looking for food in a famine, who are looking for safety and refuge in a violent world, were a threat to the greatest country on the planet. Sound familiar? Trump is part of the Pharaoh industrial complex. And when Moses first confronts Pharaoh, Moses says, "Let my people go," and Pharaoh says, "Why?" And Moses says, "Let my people go because God says all people are equal, all people, and let them go and worship me in the desert." And Pharaoh says, "Who is God? Why should I do that?" And we know what happened. Justice triumphs in the end. It's a long, long trip. But when God meets the Israelites in the desert on Mount Sinai, God introduces God's self by saying, "I am the Lord your God who took you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage." He was saying, "I am God who will not tolerate oppression, who will not tolerate systemic injustice. That is who I am, and that is my calling card." That is the God that we invoke today. The God who will not stand for the Pharaoh industrial complex. The God who will make these walls come down. The God who is not okay with the fact that borders divide people divide life and death. The first commandment is, "You shall not have any idols." What is an idol? An idol is when you say God cares for me but not for you. An idol is when you say that some people are not created in the image of God, because if there is one God, then God is everybody's God. And so we are standing here today to say to this administration, to ICE, to the law enforcement agencies, to the detention centers, you might look like you're powerful. You might look strong. You might think that because today you have power, that this is the way it's going to continue. But no, that has never been the way it has been and will not be. We stand here today because we heed the cry, "Do not stand idly by when your neighbor's blood is shed." Do not stand idly by. And so we're coming here today to say that your well-being is my obligation, just like my well-being is your obligation. We are all in this together. We are obligated together, and we will win, which means that there will be justice.
Muchas gracias. Ahora vamos a presentar a Angélica Salas, directora de Chirla. I'm going to introduce to Angélica Salas, director of Chirla.
And I will be joined by Jair, who is going to stand with me. Jair. So I just want to say the first first to say to our immigrant families, our immigrant children, that you're not alone. You're not alone. There are people who are standing with you. There are, the majority of Americans do not want your families to be separated. And so I want you to hear this. You are not alone. You have rights, but more than that, you have the love of your community standing with you. We will stand against all of these attacks by this administration, by this president who has no heart, who is cruel, who is callous, and who's morally corrupt. A mi familia inmigrante, a todos los inmigrantes, estamos aquí para decirles, no están solos. Ustedes tienen mucha gente que está peleando con ustedes. Y que este presidente que no tiene corazón, que tiene absolutamente no moralidad, le decimos que nosotros estamos dispuestos a pelear con todo, para pelear para mantener a nuestras familias unidas. And so I know that each one of you who is here, I want to start by saying thank you to each one of you that I see here. And I see you standing in the shade and in the sun, but I want to talk to you and say to you, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for standing up, for saying this is wrong. Our children deserve their parents. Our children deserve their mothers, their fathers. Sons and daughters are being taken away. But they're not just somebody else's parents. They're not just somebody else's sons and daughters. They're our brothers and sisters, and we are going to fight for them. These are our children. Am I right about this?
Yes! Woo!
Queremos a nuestras familias que sepan que nosotros los vemos como nuestros hermanos, como nuestros hijos, y que vamos a pelear arduamente por ellos. This is a very difficult time for immigrant families. And so we're not going to make it, it is hard. This is a horrible time in American history, and I need us to understand that. This is a time when people's rights are being violated. Their human rights are being violated. They're being violated at the border, and they're being violated in the interior. And up here, next to this prison, because this is what this immigration detention center is, it's a prison. There are mothers and fathers who are being detained here. This kind of separation of families happens every day. And the manner in which this president is going about having no regard towards the harm that he is causing is unacceptable. It is disgraceful. When he is using us as pawns in his political battle against Congress, it's unacceptable. And we gotta send him that message. Woo! We are human beings. We deserve better than that. And let me tell you, we are Americans and we deserve better than this.
Yeah! Woo!
And so we have to tell them, not in our name and not with our tax dollars. Not in our name are we going to keep putting children in jails and cages. No more of our tax dollars are going to be used to be separating families, because these are our tax dollars, and our tax dollars are supposed to be for good. There are people who are homeless, who need shelter. There are people who need health care. That's what we want our tax dollars to go for, not to cage children and not to separate families. Are you with me with this?
Yes! Woo!
So we're going to fight together. We have to fight together. And it isn't about immigrant and citizen or people with green cards and people without. It's about people of goodwill. It's about people with a heart and with compassion. And that is so much greater than the papers we carry. It's about our humanity, our shared humanity. And so that is so powerful. And we have to tap into that, to raise our courage and stand with others. And so aquí hoy les digo a todos, nuestro valor y nuestra humanidad, nuestras familias son mucho más fuertes que nada y con ellos tenemos que pelear. And so we are one people fighting for justice. Un solo pueblo peleando por justicia. One people fighting for justice. Un pueblo peleando por justicia. Are we ready to fight?
Yes!
And so he says that he's holding off these raids for a couple of more weeks. Exactly. But what we know is every day is a day we have to stand up. We have to stop them. We stop them for these kind of massive raids. We want them to never occur. And that's what we're fighting for. Queremos que estas redadas no pasen. And that's our fight. They cannot happen. Not in a week, not in two, not ever. So let's fight to stop this.
Yes!
It's really important for me to introduce Yair because Yair actually had his family his father taken from his home. But he fought back. But he has a message to other children and other people, and I'm sure he has a message for President Trump because it's important that we hear what this means. When we talk about family separation and we talk about ICE coming to somebody's door, it happens every day, and it happened to Yair. So Yair.
¡Vamos a ir!
Everybody, so my dad was taken away on, so he was taking me to school. He was gonna take me to school, and but he called back because he had to go to work, and on his way to work, called my mom and saying that like I stopped him. So like I was like scared. I didn't know what to feel at that point. Like I was just lost, and I felt emptiness the whole time. I felt like I had nobody there with me. But when I called Katia, because she's my wise up leader, I called her crying, and I told her like, what do I do? Like my dad just got taken away, and right away she went to the school. She got my mom, me, and like she contacted my dad, asked if he was okay at first, and like told him not to worry that we're gonna get him out, but it's like not okay to be doing this every day, you know. It's like homeless families are feeling lost and emptiness, and like I remember he was only there for 3 weeks, but those 3 weeks felt like eternity. Like I just couldn't stop thinking about him. I couldn't even focus in school, so it's like it was really hard on me, especially my mom too. And to this day, he still has no job, so it really affects like you big time.
¡Vamos a ir!
His father is now back with the family, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to fight. There's a bunch of people here who are going to make sure that if anybody gets picked up, that we can we can do everything in our power so that we can give them the legal representation to fight back. And so we need families together. We need all of us together in this, and I know we can do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angelica, and thank you, Jair, for sharing your powerful story. I now want to welcome Liliana Garcia, part of the California Dream Network, which is the college youth program of Chile. She is an ally, and she will speak about her experience.
Hello, everyone. My name is Liliana. Thank you for being here. It really means a lot. I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm gonna tell y'all a story that I haven't shared, but I think it's important. 6 years ago, in the summer of 2013, we got news that my cousin was missing in El Salvador. The search ran 7 days until we found his body in one of our properties. He was tortured. with body parts missing. This really happened, and it's still happening right now. This is not something you're hearing on TV that's happening. This happened to me, my family. And this happens to so many. Apparently going to school causes that in El Salvador. They target kids at school, the vulnerable ones. The ones that maybe don't have a lot of family and they make them charge rent to the people in the community. The person that he went to ask for money was not having it and shot him in the leg. When he realized who it was, he knew that my family was not going to handle it well. And so that's why they hid the body. Those 7 days were hell. And I'm sharing this because it's real, it hurts, it still haunts all of us in the family. He was a year younger than me. And I know if he would have been alive still, he would have came in those caravans. Because there are no opportunities over there, unfortunately. And so I want that negativity, to say the least, to bring a positive impact. I want what happened to him to be remembered so that this doesn't happen anymore. Thank you.
Gracias, Liliana, por compartir esto que es muy doloroso para ella, pero es doloroso para nosotros también porque estamos aquí por eso, ¿verdad? Por las familias que queremos estar en este país. Vamos a darle la bienvenida a Carlos Amador, que es un líder, el electo oficial asambleísta Miguel Santiago y la senadora María Elena Durán.
Okay, good morning, buenos dias. This is really hard for everybody up here. I'm sure everybody to have just heard the testimony. But I'm glad she told us a story, because as we fight for the things in policies or whatever it is, we can't lose the feeling sometimes of frustration and anger and sadness. So 25 years ago, California was the first state in the nation to pass an anti-immigrant law, Prop 187.
Go!
Prop 187. So Pete Wilson used it as a way, his hatred, his racism, he used it as a way to get elected. Does that sound familiar?
Yep.
But 25 years later in California, we are stronger than before. We are stronger than before. So thank you, Pete Wilson. Thank you, because in our communities, as Californians and as Americans, we don't back off when you attack our community. Instead of backing off, instead of showing fear, and it is fearful, but instead of showing fear, we stand up, we organize, and we fight back.
Yeah!
And so in California, we are very proud that we have become more of a pro-worker, more of a pro-immigrant state. We're all very proud of that. But sisters and brothers, we're not at the point where we can say it's all done. We have so much more to do. So what I would say to our families, our immigrant families, Californians, and Americans that we can do much more. In California, we are in defense of our immigrant families. We have millions and millions of dollars from our tax dollars that are being used to help refugees, being used for legal representation. That's how we're using our tax dollars now compared to 25 years ago when Pete Wilson was using them for deportations. So we're using more of that. We're fighting back. That's what Trump is doing today. He, like Pete Wilson, thinks that he is going to get elected because of his hatred and because of his racism to build support. We have to respond not only now to defend our families, to do whatever it takes to let them know their rights, but we also have to get out and vote. We have to vote. And anybody and everybody who does not vote to dump Trump, if we don't vote, then we are asking for more of this suffering. There will be more of this suffering, more separation of families. So sisters and brothers, let's not do one thing or another. Let's do both. Let's do everything that it takes to make sure that all of our communities are defended and that we dump Trump and disobey whatever he asks us to do. Muchas gracias.
And a big round of applause for Marilena Durazo, our senator, and everybody else who's here today.
Yeah!
And look, brothers and sisters, we've seen this playbook before. Trump thinks that he can get reelected if he instills hate and scares people. It's a playbook we've seen. When he first started his election, he called immigrants thieves. He called them rapists. He called them every name in the book. And we thought it wasn't going to work. But there are people out there who believe them. Look, I don't think I have to convince anybody here that what he's doing is plain and simple electoral politics. Plain and simple. It's not a coincidence that he announces raids right before he announces his first campaign rally and kickoff. It's not a coincidence that he's going to continue to attack immigrants. And the history book for him shows that. He attacked Muslims. He has separated families. He took little kids under DACA and wants to deport them back. He will do anything to get reelected. Now here's what we've learned. That this time that playbook's not going to work. Because I'll remind you that in the congressional campaign, we won and we took back the House. Now, this time, he's going to try to double up on his strategy. Here's what's at stake. Not only are they worried about losing the Senate, not only are they worried about still not having control in Congress, not only is the president terrified at the worst polling numbers he'd ever seen for a modern president going into re-election. So it makes sense that they would want to attack immigrants just in hopes of winning political seats. The lowest standard we have ever seen in American politics. Now, here's what's also at stake. The census. They've got a very, very clear playbook. If they attack us now, they appeal to those in America who are racist. If they attack us now, there will be people who won't come out and vote in 2020. If they attack us now, we won't be counted. This is their playbook. Here's the good news. Didn't work in the congressional races. Here's the better news. We've got the ability to take back that White House.
Yeah!
No doubt about it.
Woo!
And what's at stake is losing a congressional seat here in California. What's at stake is equal representation for our equal tax dollars. Now let this not be lost. Nonetheless, that the most important thing here is the way that we treat those who are least among us. Y lo más importante aquí que estamos haciendo es defendiendo los derechos de tal vez de esas comunidades que no los tengan. Y necesitamos que recordarnos que cada vez en este país que esta administración antes de ser elegida la presidencia o estando en la presidencia, ha atacado a los inmigrantes simplemente por ganar posiciones políticas. La presidencia, y ahora no sería una sorpresa que atacan a inmigrantes simplemente una noche antes de empezar su campaña para reelección. Eso no se nos ocupa que olvidar. Pero también tenemos la oportunidad de volver a hacer una América que nosotros creemos. Esta es una oportunidad para pedirle a nuestros amigos, a nuestros hermanos y hermanas que se paren con nosotros para defender los derechos de nuestros inmigrantes. Nosotros necesitamos que tener accountabilidad, no simplemente para los que estamos aquí, pero también para otros demócratas que no quieran ayudarnos con los derechos de inmigrantes. Aquí en el estado de California, mi camarada les va a decir que fue una lucha agarrar el seguro médico para gente que no tenía papeles. Pero no podemos parar de exigir contabilidad de todos en oficina, demócratas, republicanos, que necesitan que apoyar los derechos de inmigrantes, simplemente. And this is a call to rebuild America the way that we know it. And we got to hold people up here accountable. But I'll also say this, we have got to hold all Democrats accountable. We have got to hold all Republicans accountable to this issue.
Yeah!
Because I will tell you this, and it is very true, the fight to get folks who are undocumented health care was a brutal fight. My sister led that fight right here. And we can't let folks off the hook, whether you're Democrat or Republican. And for all our non-Latino brothers and sisters who are here, from the bottom of my heart, God bless you and thank you for joining us in this fight. And do a real round of applause for everybody who is here. Because we're going to need you more than ever, brothers and sisters.
We have two more speakers in our program. Help me welcome Carlos Amador, immigrant rights leader from the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah!
How are we doing today? Are we sick and tired of these attacks?
Yes!
Are we gonna fight back? Yes! Are we gonna fight back? Yes! Thank you so much for having me. My name is Carlos Amador. I'm an immigrant rights leader. I come from the San Fernando Valley, and I'm also an impacted person. As a formerly undocumented immigrant, I know what it's like to suffer and fear the attacks and the threats of deportation, and also have experienced firsthand what it means to lose a family member due to deportation as well. But many of us, all of us, have been fighting for many years to stop the deportations in our communities. In the past 10 years, when we won DACA, was that the end?
No!
When we won the Trust Act, was that the end? No! When we won the State Sanctuary Law, California Values Act, was that the end? No! And when we finish with Trump, is that going to be the end? No! That's not going to be the end, right? Because we're going to continue to organize and to mobilize our communities. We need to ensure that our communities are educated. We need to make sure that they know their rights. But that's not going to be enough. We need to make sure that we organize them as well. We need to make sure that we're telling them to call their legislators, to call their representatives, and to go and visit them in their offices as well. Here in LA County, we have, that's right. Here in LA County, we have Sheriff Villanueva, who ran on a campaign to get ICE out of the jails. And what did he do? He got ICE out of the jails, but then he got ICE contractors to do the job for ICE agents to go interview people and transfer them to deportation. So the deportation pipeline continues in LA County. Are we going to allow that? No! So we need to hold Sheriff Villanueva accountable, just as we're holding Trump accountable. That's right? We need to make sure we have the legal services for those that are fighting their deportation to be able to have a fair chance. So that includes passing and renewing the LA Justice Fund here in Los Angeles, right?
Yes, that's right.
So as we continue to organize, we need to mobilize as well, because it's not enough to hold them accountable. We need to hold them accountable at the polls as well, whether it's on off-year elections or as well as on 2020. Are we going to do that as well? Yes. That's right. So we're gonna educate them, we're gonna organize, and we're gonna mobilize to the polls and in the streets as well. Because we're not gonna rest until our communities are liberated, and we're not gonna rest until everyone has the same opportunities to live freely in this country. Is that right? Yeah! Because no justice, no peace.
No justice.
No peace. No justice,
No peace.
No justice, no peace. No migra aquí. Thank you.
I know it's pretty loud right now, but if y'all hear, there are people that are detained in this prison that are knocking on the window. So let's wave, and let's do a chant. No están solos.
No están solos.
No están solos.
You're not alone.
No están solos.
You're not alone.
No están solos.
You're not alone.
No están solos. You're not alone. No están solos. You're not alone. No están solos. You're not alone. So as we continue the program, make sure that you listen to those noises and you wave up there. I know that wave, that acknowledgement that we know that they're there will make a difference and it will carry them through. And I know justice will be served. For our last speaker for our program, help me welcome Fal Suck.
Thank you everybody for coming out and spending your Sunday with us, standing in some heat. Not much shade, unfortunately, but that's the weather of today. My name is Paul Sok, P-H-A-L-S-O-K. I'm with the Youth Justice Coalition, also somebody directly impacted, but directly impacted in a different way. Through the over-policing of our communities, through the intersection of the criminal justice system, and through the systems that took me into the deportation pipeline. And only because of the work that I do in the community and organizations of folks on the ground just like you, legislators such as them, that I got a pardon from the governor, and that's the only reason I can stand on this ground today.
Yeah.
But it's important to acknowledge that this ground is stolen ground. Right, this is stolen ground. This belongs to Congo people, Chumash people, Gabalino people. This is who this land belongs to. Right? And so I just want to take us on a little trip of history, if we can go back a little bit to when this country was started through independence. If we look at all the pictures, it was all a bunch of old white men in a room writing a Declaration of Independence. Right? And then several hundred years later, we have a civil war. We have a civil war that finally gets us to a place where folks that are not white can actually become citizens of this nation. Right? But unfortunately, 150 years later, we get a black president, but we end up with the highest numbers of deportations of all time. That's right. What does that say about us? Right, so a little bit of story about me, just so folks know. My family also fled a border. It just wasn't this border. It was a border between Cambodia and Thailand. They had to flee from camps. They had to escape from labor camps, forced education camps, make it across a border that was full of landmines, across a militarized border to find safety. The folks from Central America, from Mexico, are doing the exact same thing, no different. But when white Western Europeans came here for free land grants, for religious freedom, to avoid persecution, whatever, it was okay. But when our folks do it, people of color, it's not okay. You have to understand that dichotomy is not real. It's false dichotomy. It's a dichotomy that white American society has created for the benefit of white Western Europeans. Right? We have to think back to history. When this country was created, if you look at the original naturalization laws, it says citizens were only free white men, not even women. Right? So who was it created for? But we have to take it back. And so a little bit about me. I came here as a child of a refugee, lack of resources, etc. Family falls apart. And then when I was 16, I ended up in the juvenile justice system, only to be tried as an adult and sent to prison for 24 years. And then when I get a chance to go home, I didn't get to go home. I watched my parole papers being handed over to an ICE contractor inside of a holding tank. And that was my release from the state prison system. That was my reentry into society. It wasn't reentry. It was off to an unknown. You see, y'all. But the last thing I just want to say is that here in LA County, you see the jails that are back here. We have the largest carceral system, local carceral system in the world. On any given day, there are roughly 17,000 people in the LA County jails. That's a good chunk, right? The majority of it is black and brown. A lot of those folks are non-citizens. And when they walk out, unfortunately, they don't always walk out to freedom to breathe free air. Right? But a lot of people end up in those situations because of moral dilemmas, because of the social determinants that they face in their communities, the over-policing in our communities. The sheriff in LA County gets $3 billion a year, $1 billion of that spent on the jails. LAPD gets over 50% of the city's discretionary money. The money that can go to our sidewalks, to our schools, to youth jobs, to youth centers, to programs that protect people, right? We don't get those things. The county spends an incessant amount of money, the city spends an incessant amount of money on policing and suppression. That is not about liberation. And so for us to get liberation, just as black men and black women got their liberation through fighting for their own freedom through the Civil War, we got to do the same things. That's the only way we're going to get liberation, by fighting for our own freedom. That's always important to remember. So I just want to encourage everybody, just really hug one another, love one another, right? And not spread hate, but share some peace and some love. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Ahora vamos a tener el micrófono abierto para alguien que quiera levantar su voz, pero antes vamos a recordar 5 pasos que tenemos que tener en mente si migración llega a tu casa, ¿verdad? Que no se le olvide, quiero que se los graben bien para que se los digan a sus amigos, a sus familias, ¿verdad? Tenemos derecho de permanecer en silencio, no decir nada. Tenemos derecho de ver a un abogado de migración antes de hablar con ellos, ¿verdad? Si las autoridades vienen a tu casa, no abras la puerta por ningún motivo, porque al abrir la puerta tan solo para preguntar, tú ya estás dando permiso para que entren a tu casa y pueden detener a la gente que está a tu lado, y no queremos eso. Entonces no abran la puerta, por favor, y tienen que mostrarle una orden que diga su nombre de la persona que están buscando, pero importante, que venga firmada por un juez. Si no está firmada por un juez, esa orden no es válida. Y si te detienen, solamente tienes que decir tu fecha de nacimiento y tu nombre. Eso es todo. Entonces, por favor, grábense estos 5 pasos que son muy importantes y díganselos a sus amigos. Pónganlo. Esto sí lo pueden poner en Facebook. Esto sí lo pueden compartir en las redes sociales. No compartan que el compadre me habló, que está en la esquina, que está en migración y ya nos espantamos. No compartan información falsa, por favor. Y háblenos, si es que tienen alguna duda, texten a cualquier organizador, llámenos a la Chila, pueden ir a la página www.chila.org, ahí está el número de emergencia, ahí está toda la papelería que ustedes pueden necesitar para que ustedes la compartan y la impriman, ¿ok? Gracias.
So really quickly, first off, we need to turn off the notion that ICE has all the power. ICE doesn't have the power unless we give them that power. So we need to invoke our rights. We need to be brave enough to invoke our rights. So I'm going to give you 5 steps that you can share with your families, your friends, your schools, your communities, your churches, everyone, so that we can remember what to do in case ICE comes to our door. So number 1, you have the right to remain silent. You do not have to speak to any ICE agent or any ICE officer that comes to your door. We recommend for you to carry a Know Your Rights card. I have one in my shoe, I have one in my car, I have one in my purse, I have one everywhere. You can print them out, they are everywhere online. Know Your Rights card. Number 2, you have the right to speak to an attorney, but you have to get that attorney first before ICE comes to your door. So make sure you're planning up ahead to have an attorney ready to go. Number 3, do not open the door. Folks that come to your door, they might knock on the door or they might be friendly, and you might be prone to opening the door. Opening the door is an invitation for them to come inside your house. So do not open the door. And how many of you have smartphones over here? All of us, right? Most of us here. So make sure that you're using your smartphones to document everything that's happening. If you see an ICE raid happening or if an ICE agent comes to your door, do not be afraid to use those videos. Number 4, do not carry any false documentation with you. Sometimes our communities use false documents to get ahead, but we cannot have those be carrying around. Number 5, if you are detained, you just have to say your name and your date of birth, okay? You don't have to give any other information, and make sure you give that Know Your Rights card, but make sure you print them out. You can print out hundreds of them, and you can pass them out in the streets. That's what we're going to be doing. And for the last step, we have an action July 1st. July 1st, we have an action. We're going to be posting about it, and this is to call out the deaths of the Central American children and any other children that have died at the hands of this government.
Yeah!
We're going to have that action in memory of Jacqueline Amei Rosemary from Guatemala, who died at the hands of this government, who died thirsty, who died tired, and who died alone. Her spirit is here with us. So please, show up on July 1st, spread the word, and we're going to call out the deaths of these children, and it will not be in vain. We will serve justice. So now we're going to close off with a chant, and we're going to do a unity clap. So the unity clap comes from the farm workers movement. It starts at the beat of your heart. So we're gonna start at the beat of our heart. Thank you, everyone. I now want to say our program concludes. I know there were some spelling questions with the reporters. We can definitely give you those spellings right now. And we're going to open it up to an open mic. So if any folks want to sign up to speak, we already have one speaker signed up. You will come right here with Shannon. So if any folks want to speak about anything, this is a safe space. So make sure you sign up with Shannon, and we're going to have an open mic right now. We'll be continuing to listen to the folks that are inside and continuing to show our support. Thank you so much for coming out. Muchas gracias.
There, he's over there.
What is your last name, Jay? Huh? So, ¿y tu papá qué se llama? Jared?
One of the organizers. Galván, ¿nos puedes decir otra vez de nuevo las 5 cosas que tienen que hacer rapidito la gente para que no sean afectados por esas redadas?
Tienen derecho a permanecer callados, no decir nada, tienen derecho a ver un abogado antes de...
For the open mic, anybody that's interested in saying some words or speaking about your experiences, we have 3 folks signed up. The first is Amari from Occupy ICE, Abolish I.C.E. So if you're still in the crowd, come on up.
Su nombre de usted y que venga firmado por un juez. Si no está firmado por un juez, no sirve. También no carguen documentos falsos, por favor. En lugar de cargar los documentos falsos en la cartera, carguen la tarjeta de Conoce tus derechos, ¿verdad? Así cambien los papeles. Y también no den información falsa tampoco, por favor. Solamente tienen derecho usted de decir su nombre y su fecha de nacimiento. Tengan todo esto en cuenta y compartan esta información.
Muy bien, gracias.
Minerva?
Richard Gallegos. Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Para todos los que nos están viendo, para todos los que nos están mirando, quiero decir rápidamente que vamos a tener muchísima información en Facebook, en todas nuestras páginas de redes sociales. Vamos a tener información sobre Conoce tus derechos, qué hacer si migra toca la puerta, qué hacer si tu familiar ya ha sido detenido. Entonces síganos en Facebook, keep following us on Facebook. We'll be sharing tons of very useful information on our page, primarily Facebook, Instagram as well. If you have Instagram, that's chirla_.org. Make sure you follow us. We're going to be sharing tons and tons of very useful information, as well as we will be printing about 50,000 Know Your Rights cards, maybe even 100,000 Know Your Rights cards, and that will be available to the public to come pick up at our office. But we will also be making them available on chirla.org. Make sure you visit that website, www.chirla.org. There's going to be tons of resources there, a resource hub where you can download absolutely all the educational material that we have. Let's go ahead and speak to some other organizers to see what other actions you can take.
Please,
help to dismantle ICE. We would help to abolish ICE, DHS, and for fucking sake, close the camps! 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 Thank you!
Thank you. Up next is Shadia from the Poor People's Campaign. Shadia from the Poor People's Campaign? Okay. We'll move on to L. It's just L. Thank you to everyone that came out today. As someone who is undocumented and grew up with no undocumented community or outlets to express these or be in community, this really means a lot to see people out here fighting with us. I heard, thank you to Trilla for putting this on. I heard a lot of great things from speakers today, but I also heard some things that I don't agree with. Voting should not be the end-all be-all. Voting will not get us to where we need to be. Voting is still playing into the system. I don't need anyone who's a citizen to fight for me. I don't need anyone who's a citizen to vote for me. I need y'all to fucking fight with me. The people who are in there, we are not fighting for them. We are fighting with them. The children in concentration camps, we're not fighting for them. We are fighting with them. This is not charity. This is solidarity. The shit that is happening and has been happening is not okay. We need to take to the streets. People need to keep talking about it. People need to organize with their friends, their families, their communities. Do not outsource your protection. Do not look to these nonprofits to be the ones to guide us. They have resources, but they are still a part of the nonprofit industrial complex. They still have to stay within these guidelines so that they can get their money. Organize on the streets. Express your fucking anger. This shit is crazy. Don't normalize this. Be mad and be vocal about the fact that we are mad and we're not going to stand for this. If you see ICE agents, if you see police agents, if you see an ICE van, slash their tires, make their jobs difficult, wreck their fucking cars, tell them this is not okay. Don't take to the streets, take up space, be mad, but also love your neighbors, love your friends, love your families with the passion that they don't want to see. And also, fuck that dude in the MAGA hat right there. What the fuck is he doing here? Get the fuck out, you don't belong in our community.
Yeah, attack me, come on, attack me.
He just fucking, he's here to instigate. He's a little bitch. Don't fucking give into it.
Attack the
No
black guy.
borders, no nation. Fuck deportation. No borders, no nation. Fuck deportation. No borders, no nation. Fuck deportation. Thank you. And last we have Michelle with Indivisible Northridge.
Hi, thank you guys for coming out today. I'm really, really happy to see a lot of white people here. That is, you know, as a white person, I grew up with a lot of privilege. I didn't realize the privilege that I had. I thought it was normal. I thought everybody had the same opportunity. I learned that that is not the case. And so while it took me a while to get here, I am with you now. I am your ally. We are brothers and sisters. There is nothing there's nothing different between us. And I want you to know that I will stand with you, and I encourage more people of privilege to get on the streets and to get out of their comfort zone, get involved in their community. Get involved in your community and keep the pressure on. The fight will continue. Not when, you know, President Trump is out of office. It's going to continue. Be the raindrop. Be the raindrop. Some days you'll be a big raindrop, some days you'll be a mist. But as long as you are consistent, we will win.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for those testimonies. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Shannon Camacho, and I'm coordinator of the LA Rage Rapid Response Network. What we do is we're a coalition of organizations that responds to ICE enforcement in Los Angeles. So we make sure that folks have legal representation, that folks have an attorney to go out to the detention center if that's what they need, and we support the families. So I'm here right now to tell you all that today is not the only day that we're going to mobilize. We're going to have an action on July 1st at Placita Olvera, which is just a 10-minute walk that way. We're going to be honoring the children that have died at the border in detention centers, LGBTQ folks that have died, transgender Honduran women that have died, those that died crossing the border and that are unnamed and unidentified. There are so many folks that we don't talk about that have died crossing during that dangerous journey. And also we want to honor those that have died in the detention centers that we know are prisons, that we know are in horrible conditions, and that is why folks pass away. So we're going to honor all of those people during July 1st. We encourage everybody to come. We're going to have more information on Cheerla, on our website, on our social media, so you can follow us to get more information about that. But we're going to go to the streets and we're going to march back here to demand that there are no more people in detention and that nobody dies in ICE and CBP custody. And with that, we end the program. Thank you all so much for coming, and we're going to keep fighting. Thank you.
Folks, we're gonna go ahead and end the live stream for now, but just want to quickly remind you that as you click out of the live stream, make sure you share it so that tons of people get this really useful information. And always remember, on July 1st, we're going to be taking the streets of Placita Olvera to honor those that have died at the border. Again, please share this video. Please follow us on social media. We'll have tons of free resources for the community so that they can stay informed and stay protected from deportation. Thank you.